if Donald Trump is part of the Epstein list, and why he has decided to pretend like doesn't exist anymore, then the war that I've been waging on liberals and everyone that has been completely insane, I plan to wage on Donald Trump if he cannot explain or make sense of this soon. It's pointing to that he is implicated to the fullest degree. If
you can't justify not being more upfront about a case that's captured the attention of millions of Americans.
And Bill O'Reilly isn't the only one talking. Check out Laura Ingraham, who is sending a coded message to Donald Trump that's letting him know just how serious these Epstein files are.
There is a lot, and we're not gonna like everything. There's a lot that's kind of bubbling under the surface, and I know you know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna ask a few questions to all of you. How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap. Okay, I told you to clap. You guys aren't listening. I'm not going to grade you on a curve. So I was going to get to that. How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
If by now it has not become obvious to you that Trump has never been about transparency. Like, from his just first actions, he's been pardoning criminals. And that has never made people raise questions, right? And this man is actually a convicted felon. The Magas were willing to let that slide. Hopefully, now that the Epstein Files don't exist anymore, maybe will they start looking into their daddy? Maybe will they start asking important questions about this? It has always been about protecting the rich and making sure that the rich stay in control so that they get away with the most heinous acts and atrocities committed against the lower class, the peasants, just the normal people. Anyhow, how are you all my people doing? Welcome back to the channel. Gracie here in South Africa. Today, as always, my skin is dry, y'all, because of the winter. My first time. I'm literally shocked. But anyway, that's not the reason as to why we are here. Today, we are going to be looking at how Magas are literally crashing out. And they are leaving the Maga camp. Because apparently, the Epstein Files do not exist anymore. And their daddy is like, stop talking about it. Because it doesn't exist. These were created by Obama and Joe Biden. Yeah? So stop asking all these stupid questions. All the big Magas, all the big influencers are on this. They're like, you know what? Enough is enough. Yo, we're going to have to watch all these videos. I want you guys to let me know what you think. Especially those of you that already suspected that this was going to happen anyway, right? And if you're a MAGA, what is your stand on this? Because definitely you should have something to say about this, right? But you guys, we're going to have to watch this. We'll come back and talk about it. Just do me a favor. Like the video, share it. Don't forget to subscribe.
How is MAGA responding to Trump saying that the Epstein client list never existed? Well, see for yourself.
I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm going to tell you this right now. If this is the verdict, there's no Epstein client list. If we don't get accountability for the thousands of victims that were abused, then I'm jumping ship. And all of you should as well.
This is all going in the trash. I do not support Trump anymore. He's a liar. He's a part of the deep state. I do not support Israel. I will not be supporting him anymore. He's part of the deep state.
The whole thing that this tape shows he didn't kill himself is like a joke. But worse than that, it's a joke that we all get. Like, they're not fooling anybody. So I feel like we're at a dangerous point now.
So now by coming in and being part of the cover-up, the Trump administration has become part of it. I mean, it's just, you cannot see it any other way. So I just got to the office. I'm going to go throw up, actually. And this only happens every few years when something really, really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically going to puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now. have integrity.
So this message goes out to Donald Trump and his people. I've been asked before, what would it take for you to not support Donald Trump anymore? I always said, well, it'd take a lot. I've literally made thousands of videos on this app supporting you, sir. So if you're deciding that Epstein is the bridge that you're going to burn, I got the match, sir. You're telling me there's no list after you told me there was a list. You're telling me that you don't care about these victims. This is a promise you made to the American people, sir. Non-negotiable. You've always been in tune with your supporters. Always. 100% spot on. Not this time, sir. You missed this one.
I voted for Donald Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024. I am prepared to dim this hill. If Donald Trump is part of the Epstein list as why he has decided to pretend like it doesn't exist anymore, then the war that I've been waging on liberals, I plan to wage on Donald Trump if he cannot explain or make sense of this soon. It's pointing to that he is implicated.
So I voted for Trump, and this Epstein thing is just insane. But I think it's showing us one thing, and that's our country is unified for the first time in a long time. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, we all know this administration is guilty. So
you guys, hell has frozen over. Maga is actually breaking up with Trump, and it's not just a couple people either. I don't know about you, but my timeline is literally video after video after video of MAGA people saying they're done. And the comment sections, yeah, they lost me over the Epstein thing. No matter the party, they protect the same people. I'm over Trump now. He betrayed his supporters. I'm disappointed. These politicians are all corrupt and only work for Satan. Denying the Epstein Files pretty much did it for me. I'm done with him. It's all smoke and mirrors. We've seen zero accountability or arrests from Epstein Files or billions in fraud that Doge has found. This guy can't govern a country nor tell the truth. Nah, I'm done with Trump. Israel owns him just like the rest. Conservative here, truth, he said he would release the Epstein Files day one, said he would end Ukraine war in 24 hours. He is no different than all the other lying, paid-for politicians. I don't think this means we have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but if you're anywhere on the left, I think it's prudent to remind yourself that the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Oh my goodness, this is more bad news for Donald Trump, and it's because of the Epstein Files. Trisha Hope posted a video letting Donald Trump know she's very, very mad at him.
Good morning. I wanted to make a quick video. I just drove to my hometown to attend a funeral for my uncle, so I had a little time to think, and I cannot get this Epstein situation out of my head. I am so upset with the behavior of President Trump the other day when the reporter asked the question about the files, the question that we all wanted the answer to. He dismissed this reporter. He tried to intimidate this reporter. He tried to intimidate the room so that no one else would ask that question. That's what Democrats do. I'm all for him calling out stupid questions because there are a lot of those, but this was not a stupid question. This was a legitimate question. It was a fair question. It was a question I wanted the answer to, and I think a lot of other people did. But he did not want that question asked, and he did not want it answered. He stepped right over Pam Bondi and tried to deflect and have her not answer the question. That's not okay, y'all. That's not okay. That was not okay. And I have never seen President Trump behave like that towards victims. I don't know who that man was sitting there, because that's not the man that I supported. That's not the man that I went to 42 rallies and watched speak and make promises, one of which was the Epstein Files. Turn and pretend like he didn't even say it. There's something going on that's not right. And, I'm learning more about this foreign influence going on in our country. And I'm being told by people who seem to know that the reason this information is not coming out is because our foreign leaders. So we're protecting foreign leaders, and I guess they threatened or something. Maybe some people say that Trump is concerned that this would cause World War III. Well, if it would, that'd be terrible. But I can't think of one thing better to fight for than to save children from pedophilia. I don't understand that. We've gone to war for far less for other people. But we're not going to stand up for these young people who were brutalized. Have you seen some of these victims talk about what happened to them? You should watch. And then to dismiss them so coldly. He has got to get before the people and answer some questions, some real questions. Because this isn't okay. And I have supported him through thick and thin. Like I said, I've been to 42 of his Trump rallies. And I went to 4 CPAC, I think it's 4, maybe 5 CPACs. I spent time handing out yellow ribbons for J6ers because they were forgotten at these CPAC events. I helped with the J6 Pardon Project. I walked the halls of Congress 3 times for President Trump. One of those times, we hit every single member of the House and Senate on both sides of the aisle. That's 535 offices. I spent 2 weeks personally in D.C. after he was impeached the first time, walking the halls of Congress, talking to members to get them to support President Trump. I spent time talking to members of Congress about January 6th. I've spent a lot of time, and I am pissed off at President Trump. And he owes us better.
As she is sitting outside of a high school laying into Donald Trump about his inappropriate remarks to reporters who were questioning him about the Epstein Files. Let this be a wake-up call for all you conservatives out there, you so-called Christians. You see what's going on. He's protecting somebody, and the question is, who is that somebody? Definitely it's him. We've seen him in the photos, but who else? It starts to make you wonder, did Donald Trump really dupe you all last election cycle? Was he in on all of the brain manipulation tools and tactics that were used to get your vote? Starting to seem like he was, huh? And you can't blame us Democrats. So yeah, keep on walking towards the light, those of you who can see it. Eventually, you will be free. This has to be arguably the worst week of any American president in American history. No trade wars, no ICE raids, no natural disasters seem to be able to distract the American people from the Jeffrey Epstein Files and Donald Trump's connection to them. And get this, MAGA is losing their freaking minds.
Where are you on Pam Bondi resigning? No, I'm not going to condemn Pam Bondi because she takes orders from the White House.
Ooh.
She doesn't make unilateral decisions.
Right.
She does what she's told to do. That's the way President Trump runs the administration. None of the cabinet heads make independent decisions. They all come out of the West Wing and the White House. All of them. So, you could sacrifice her, right, but it is a bad look for Donald Trump. You can't justify not being more upfront about a case that's captured the attention of millions of Americans.
And Bill O'Reilly isn't the only one talking. Check out Laura Ingraham, who is sending a coded message to Donald Trump that's letting him know just how serious these Epstein Files are.
There is a lot, and we're not gonna like everything. There's a lot that's kind of bubbling under the surface, and I know you know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna ask a few questions to all of you. How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap. Okay, I told you to clap. You guys aren't listening. I'm not going to grade you on a curve. So I was going to get to that. How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
I wonder what Tucker Carlson is saying tonight.
Acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of Intel Services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that.
And as disgusting as Laura Loomer is, even she just can't seem to let this go. She says the DOJ is now in chaos and they are in preservation mode trying to get Director Kash Patel and the FBI to defend Pam Bondi and AstroTurf, their false narrative that there is no disagreement between Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. The DOJ is trying to get Kash to say things he doesn't want to say to make Pam Bondi look good. Even Pam Bondi's own team is starting to feel uncomfortable with her ask to get Kash and Bongino to say things they don't want to say in her defense in light of many exclusive reports today about Bongino taking the day off and contemplating resigning from the FBI over Bondi's mishandling of the Epstein Files and her lack of transparency. Quote, she has a horrible temper and she's losing it, sources say. Sources say Pam Bondi is now also threatening to hold up other investigations and releases unless Kash and Bongino defend her. What a mess. And this is all MAGA. Do you still feel like winning, Trump supporters? Or are you starting to realize you were lied to and betrayed by your dear leader?
If you still don't believe these files are turning people away from the taco, look at this video of Laura Ingraham at Turning Point USA. Most of us know what Turning Point USA is. If you don't, they are the company that platforms people like Charlie Kirk. So if they're behind him, you fully understand what they are all about. The fact that these files are being brought up in front of this organization, and you hear these people booing, jeering, showing that they have a real issue with how this case has been handled, it should tell you these files are not going away. I guarantee the people in the Oval Office are confused by this, okay? They have been able to basically put out blanket statements and say, don't look here, ignore it, go look somewhere else. And for the most part, all of the supporters have said, sure, no problem. These files are different. I said it a while ago. Something about these files have people not willing to give him a pass. There's so much drama around it. Somebody is about to resign in the cabinet. I believe Dan Bongino is flirting with resigning over how these files have been handled. There will absolutely be more drama to come from all of this. And the president thought he was going to get away with it. He thought the big, beautiful bill would pass. They would celebrate with that signing on the 4th. They would put that memo out there the night of the 4th, and nobody would think twice about what's going on. Everybody would just be excited to see ICE running around and harassing people. But in fact, the opposite has happened. Okay, people have never been more interested about what is going to be done about these files. And they're very nervous about that in the White House.
This huge MAGA influencer who went to the White House back in February and paraded around the Epstein Files Part 1 is now coming out and saying like, hey, we got duped by Donald Trump. In a long post on social media, he said, as one of the influencers who was given the now infamous Epstein binder, I want to share a few thoughts. I understand the rage people have for demanding the Epstein client list and arrest every influencer that day feels that same anger watching people get away with it. 2, we had no idea we would receive these binders that day. We were originally invited for a meeting with J.D. Vance in the White House, and that was it. We all paid for our flights and hotels out of pocket and carved out time to go. None of us even knew who was invited. We ended up meeting all these people, yada yada. Then 3, we had a surprise meeting with the Attorney General, and she handed us the Epstein file binders. We all heard on the news that night before that she'd be releasing these files that day, so it was surreal. 4, the photo shoot, that photo we just saw, was not planned. We were walking from the White House to the Eisenhower building, and about 50 photographers were waiting outside. We were told a lot of the info in the binders was not new, but that some of it was new. If it weren't for this guy, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Then 7, influencers do not control the Epstein files. We aren't the federal government. We're regular people who become outspoken activists. We can't rewrite history, yada, yada, yada. But what he's saying here is they got duped. Trump said like, oh, we're going to be releasing all these documents. And now fast forward to now, they're saying there's no client list and they're not releasing anything further. Now, this guy's a known liar. So take all of what he just said with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, even the MAGA influencers who went to the White House for this massive file release are saying like, yeah, not great.
If Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice and partner in the sex trafficking scheme, is spending 20 years in prison for sex trafficking, and then Trump and his people said in February that there's a client list, but then yesterday there turns out to be no client list, but then Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for sex trafficking. Who was she sex trafficking people to if there was no list? Like, how was she convicted? Also, when the White House invited all of those influencers like DC Drano and Lids of TikTok, and they handed them a full binder of the Epstein files, what was in the Epstein files? What was in those binders? And also, if Jeffrey Epstein said that Donald Trump was one of his best friends, and then Republicans got fired up that they were going to release the files because it was going to expose all of the elites in the corruption with the sex trafficking and the...
Breaking news, there is a full MAGA meltdown and war going on over the Jeffrey Epstein files and the handling by Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and by the FBI and others. This is the most searched term on Google. It's more than 1,200% higher than anything else, including Trump's tariffs and anything else Trump is doing. And the people are wanting to know more and more about it. So what they're doing, if they want to try to say, look over here, don't look at the Epstein files. Everybody's looking at the Epstein files. Everybody wants to know, where are the Epstein files? Why is this not being released by the Trump administration? Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI, basically had it out with Pam Bondi apparently yesterday, and he has now threatened to resign. Kash Patel, it seems that he may be threatening also to resign if Pam Bondi is not either fired or she doesn't resign. Don't know what's going to happen, but MAGA is going cray-cray about it all, and clearly they know, as the rest of us know, these files exist. You can see my post from Alan Dershowitz, all these other people that say the files are there, the evidence is there, it's there, it's there, it's there, and because they're trying to cover up some very, very, very powerful people that don't want the truth coming out. These men did terrible things to young ladies, period. And it needs to come out. We need to know who they are, and they need to pay the price, and they need to be prosecuted, period. But because they are so important, if you're these particular powerful men in the United States, you seem to be able to get away with things. Correct. That's why this file has been stopped. That's why this is not coming out. And who knows whether or not the Orange Jesus is in there, but you can only imagine. On those flight logs, or was on those flight logs before, they seem to vanish too. There you have it. Love to know what you think. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burner levels. And MAGA, let me know. What do you think? You know, and I know it's complete BS. It's all there. They just don't want to let the truth come out.
Okay, I'm not exaggerating. This is definitely the craziest Trump post yet. So Trump just made a very long post on Truth Social saying that actually Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, James Comey, and others, they were the ones who actually wrote the Epstein files, so you shouldn't believe what's in those files. And he told his base that they should stop talking about this, that his FBI and his DOJ, Pam Bondi, they're all doing an incredible job, and they should be focused on important things, like the 2020 election. I am not making this up. This is a 100% real post I'm about to show you, and if you think Donald Trump sounds guilty here, I want you to hit the like button and add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Trump wrote, "What's going on with my boys, and in some cases gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job. We're on one team MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it, all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein, over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files, just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Why didn't these radical left lunatics release the Epstein files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? They haven't even given up on the John F. Kennedy or Martin Luther King Jr. files." Trump then goes on to say that no matter how much success he's having, that it's just not going to be enough for some people. Trump says the left is imploding. Kash Patel and the FBI has to be focused on investigating voter fraud, political corruption, Act Blue, the rigged and stolen election of 2022, and arresting thugs and criminals, instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left-inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein. Let Pam Bondi do her job. She is great. The 2020 election was rigged and stolen. Blah, 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 blah. And then he says, "We should not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Whoa. Honestly, have you ever seen a more incriminating post in your entire life? All right, we're going to keep following all the news, so follow along, spread the word, and add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple Podcasts. And
if there's no Epstein client list, then why did Prince Andrew pay a multi-million-dollar settlement to Virginia Giuffre, someone he claimed he never met? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in prison for trafficking underage victims to no one? And why was Epstein arrested in the first place if not for running an elite-level sex trafficking operation involving underage victims? The entire premise of this case was this: powerful people, young victims, private islands, secret flights, and a protected client list that's never seen the light of day. We have leaked flight logs that include names of celebrities, billionaires, former presidents, royals, and intelligence-linked operatives. We have a dead financier found in his jail cell under extraordinary circumstances. We have Ghislaine convicted, but not a single client exposed. Then we have Virginia Giuffre, the whistleblower, dead not long after her silence was bought by royal payoff. We're supposed to believe there's no bigger story here? No systemic cover-up? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy without the theory. The breadcrumbs are there. From Lolita Express to the Virgin Islands, from sealed court documents to vanishing witnesses. The pieces are all in place. The only thing missing is accountability. This doesn't just read like a government cover-up. It reads like a Hollywood script written by someone who knows the audience won't ask as long as the lights stay on and the news cycle moves on. But some of us will always refuse to move on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and make sure you follow for more.
I voted for Donald Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024.
This is all going in the trash. I do not support Trump anymore. He's a liar. He's a part of the deep state. I do not support Israel. I will not be supporting him anymore. He's part of the deep state.
I'm a Trump supporter 100%. What Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino is doing, making that look.
We want that list because there's a woman in prison who never sexually assaulted a child. And there are many.
I want to remind you all that the man who actually got Epstein off of his original criminal charges in Florida was also hired by Donald Trump to work in his cabinet in 2016 when he was first fucking elected. The fact that you fucks have literally ignored mountains and mountains and mountains of evidence against Donald Trump for being heavily involved with Epstein, the Epstein Isle, on Epstein's planes, and Epstein's fucking great graces, and still you voted for him in 2016, in 2020, and 2024 while screaming drain the swamp and that Hillary Clinton's a monster, and there's these maps to pizza parlors where all the kids are getting kidnapped through with Epstein and getting on his plane and going to the aisle. But in 2025, when literally his fucking Department of Justice, who has done a lot of fucking covering up and fucking handling of information and literally seriously fucking shit up for the American people, now suddenly you guys want to hold this man accountable? Now it's starting to fucking click for you? You guys are truly so fucking goddamn embarrassing, but I'm going to settle for the fact that maybe this will actually fucking fracture these maggots from understanding that everything you've been screaming and crying and whining the liberals are doing and how mean the liberals are and the liberals has just been the truth the entire fucking time while you've been blanketed in fucking lies guys and were indoctrinated into a cult. I hope you guys continue to burn your red hats and continue to stand up for the fact that this man has done nothing but lie to you and grift and get you guys to literally vote him as president, and now he don't give a fuck about you or your votes because he doesn't need it because he's literally going to kick our constitution to the curb. I hope you all recognize the fault you have in this, and when the entire fucking country falls apart, I'm going to remind you it took until 2025 when you were lied to for the 10,000th time, and it came down to the Epstein Files for you to suddenly actually understand what the fuck was happening in America.
These people want answers, and they want them right now. It doesn't have to be every promise, okay? Like, they don't need every single promise from their cult leader to come true. When we all sit back and we watch the mental gymnastics take place, you know, we're always going, how can you let him lie to you like this? How can you let him get away with things over and over and over again? Well, think about it. With every cult, with every religion, there's always one particular promise, one thing that draws you in, and it becomes the anchor that holds you to this community. Everything else doesn't have to make sense, but this one thing has to be true, or else you wouldn't be here. That is what this client list has been for the vast majority of MAGA, the vast majority of these Republican voters. They have been eating this up for years, convinced that the deep state has been involved in some heinous activity, and it was going to be their man. It was going to be the taco who fixed everything, who righted all the wrongs, who brought the truth to light. This list was bigger than the presidency. This was a sign of good and evil. They wanted names. They wanted arrests. They wanted convictions. They wanted a complete reshaping of the government, and they thought this list was going to be the way to get it done. This is why they put up with the Doge cuts. This is why they put up with the firings. This is why they were able to rationalize that DEI was actually the problem. Because at the end of the day, all those things were bureaucratic waste, all right? Bureaucratic waste that was meant to cover up a criminal enterprise. And at the center of it was this list. So without it, there really is going to be chaos. All right, you can see it. You can hear it in the way these people are talking. There will be a lot of issues that stem from the White House trying to say that this thing was never real.
So, this is their wake-up call. People have been screaming on the top of their lungs. People have been crying in agony. And that was not enough. Interestingly, this same daddy, he talked about releasing these files. What happened? Nobody knows. But at the same time, we can actually try to figure out what really happened. After they fell out with Elon came out and he was like, actually, your man, he's on the files. Yeah. When he did that, right, Trump was like, we're looking at freezing, taking away all the benefits that Elon had. And all of a sudden, the man that helped him win the election, there's just quite a lot of things that came out of that fallout, right? But the man that helped him win the election, because it is obvious, everybody knows, yeah, Trump is like, I'm going to be looking into his citizenship and we'll be deporting him. Like, huh? Why? Because he's mentioned quite a number of things that are triggering, that you were on the files, yeah? But like I was beginning, yeah, he literally has been pardoning criminals. Oh, like, we are talking about a man that's literally thinking about pardoning Dede. And MAGAs are literally crashing out right now. How comes that was not a deal breaker? Like, him pardoning criminals, the January 6th, yeah? The Proud Boys that have literally been doing stuff. People that are convicted of heinous crimes. This man has pardoned. And that was never a deal breaker. Until this. Now all of a sudden you care so much. I don't know about that. Because if courts of law have already convicted this guy and they're telling you, he is actually a PED. Oh, you were never willing to actually accept And now, all of a sudden, well, no, you know what? It is time people accept, especially MAGAs, to accept like some of the voices that you've heard in here, to accept that they were duped. Because he tells lies after lies after lies after lies. And it never dawned on you that the reason as to why he was giving tax breaks to rich people is to make sure he protects them. And so that he protects himself too. He's a billionaire. Yeah, he is. A lot of these billionaires have secrets, a lot of skeletons in the closet. And it's the money. They pay the system to cover them up, to keep them up there. That's how they thrive. Continuously oppress the low people. And of course, they are not going to, face any consequences. Look at Trump. Somebody said, there is no way y'all are gonna look at those files when the devil himself is the one that is in office. And I couldn't agree more. Like, seriously. If the devil himself is in office, you still have hopes. Well, in this case, I understand that, of course, as much as others are looking at him as a devil, there are those that are looking at him as a savior of the world. Yeah, the holy one, the sent one, the chosen one. But yeah, the chosen one is covering up for people that did heinous stuff to kids, to children. The screams have been there. The signs have been there. The posts have been put and plastered everywhere. So for the people that say they really care so much about kids, about justice, you'll have just been exposed. This is a hypocrisy of the worst order. I'm not here to judge. I'm just giving my opinion. Personally, this is how I feel. I feel like this is the hypocrisy of the worst order. Knowing that you voted this man because you thought he's transparent. He cares for the morals. He protects the United States citizens when he's trying to suppress the voices of those that are literally oppressed. He's sitting on them. He literally is putting his shoe on their neck. This is not different from George Floyd, who that officer put his foot on his neck. And dude was crying, I cannot breathe. And the man made sure that he leaves that knee on the guy's neck until his last. Yeah? There's absolutely no different. And then on top of it, as always, the same playbook of blaming someone else and lying onto someone else even when they are not brought in the conversation. I'm not trying to say that probably these so-called other leaders are not on the list. They might actually also be on the list. Leaders are sitting on so many things. When people wake up to realize what these people are literally seated on in those closets, they realize that these people, the reason as to why they desire to be in power is because they want to protect themselves. It's because they want to obtain more power, because the more power you obtain, the more money you have. Yeah. The more security, the more protection you have. Yeah. But going back to that same point that I made, fact that he is literally now talking about, oh, Obama and Biden made this up. They made it up and you believed them because you told people you're going to expose, to give these files. And Americans were like, yes, give it to us. Now they are asking you about it. You stop asking stupid questions. These were made up things. Who is fooling who? This man thinks that a lot of people that follow him have a brain of a 14-year-old or a 2-year-old. They literally get slapped in the face, right? And then when the mother calls, that same kid that has been slapped runs to that mother. Because obviously, that's all This kid knows. The mother. Regardless of whether they've been smacked or whooped or what, they're still going to run to the mother. That's how disrespectful he is to the American society. But more so to the people that voted for him. Those that are expecting these files, especially the Magas, you're going to keep jumping the boat. You will jump it because you're not going to see any. Anywho, y'all are going to let me know what you think because this is getting hot. I'll let you and bring you texts of what other people, Dems and the leftists, liberals and everybody else, what do they think about this? Just do me a favor. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's keep spreading, some of this. You never know. You might be the reason as to why some of these people that have believed lies are able to see the light and know that some of these people are really not to be trusted, especially people like Trump that literally came with 34 felonies and was still able to convince people, right, to vote for him. From me for today, that's it. I do love all of you.